Hey, what's going on? Trip Kramer here from tripadvice.com. If you haven't heard, a famous YouTuber, Kevin Samuels, just recently passed away from a heart attack. Kevin Samuels was a very popular dating, relationship, and style coach here on YouTube. In a matter of just a couple of years, he just blew up and had a big following. In fact, I have watched a number of his videos and I've learned a lot of things. And so on today's video, what I want to do is share with you the 5 biggest lessons that I have learned from watching Kevin Samuels videos. As you're going to see here, a lot of them are going to have to do with things that I have been learning about women. He really opened everyone's eyes to seeing what women really want, how they think, because he interviewed a myriad of women on his channel. They would come on, they would volunteer to talk to him about what they want and what it is that they're interested in terms of the dynamics of a relationship. Anyway, let's get into it. My first lesson that I learned from Kevin Samuels. So many women seem to be really unclear about what men want. It's actually kind of frustrating. And it's something that I feel like I knew on a small level, but Kevin really opened my eyes to this after seeing all these interviews that he did with these women on his channel. That women just, basically they think that men are thinking like women. So they're treating men as if they're women. They think that men want exactly what women want. More specifically, women are just unclear on what high-value men want. So he would describe a high-value man as someone who's over a 6-figure earner and someone who's in the top 20% of all men. And they would think that a man who is, let's say, in his top 20% of earning and is also over, let's say, 40 years old, is a guy who's going to want a middle-aged woman with baggage, with 2 kids, who's very jaded, and who has a very high, powerful job, which is not the case. A lot of these high-value men, and men in general, are looking for a woman who's fit, who's feminine, and who is friendly. And the women that Kevin was interviewing on his channel were not showing those signs. So they would believe, the women would believe, that these high-value men would want them, and he was explaining to them that's not what high-value men want, or a lot of men in general. So that was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, I feel like I got a master's degree in SMV, or sexual market value. When I say master's degree, what I'm saying is I got a deeper understanding of it. I always knew what sexual market value was. A lot of people think it's some sort of myth. It is very much 100% real. I'll explain it right now. Sexual market value is the idea that everyone in the dating marketplace is assigned a value. So for example, a man who is very lazy, who is 22 years old, lives with his parents, smokes a lot of pot, doesn't make any money, and is not keeping up with his hygiene or his style, that man has a very low sexual market value. As opposed to a man who, let's say, is a little bit older, in his 30s, because a lot of men peak in their 30s, who's a high earner, who takes care of himself, that person, that guy, for example, is going to have a higher sexual market value. For women, generally speaking, how it works is a woman who is past her prime, which is going to be over 26, or a woman who has kids, who has baggage, who is overweight, that woman is going to have a low sexual market value, because it's the market that determines what is going to be valuable. How many men are going to want that woman I described, versus maybe a woman who's 23 years old, very beautiful, not as jaded, very feminine, very friendly. That woman's going to have a high sexual market value. And the whole idea is that the market determines what's valuable. It's not based on opinion. It's based on who has a higher demand. And you can see which women and which men are more desired, anecdotally and statistically as well. Through his interviews, through his videos, I seem to learn more about how sexual market value works and understanding how women are perceiving men and how men are perceiving women. He speaks about it a lot. You hear the women talking about it a lot, and you see how it's all working in real life. You know, we can learn about sexual market value and we can think about it, but to actually see it exist in real life, seeing what do women really want? What do they see as a man of high value. And also Kevin explaining what men want and how men perceive what a woman is in terms of high value or low value. So just hearing the explanations, seeing it a lot, that was another big learning lesson. And the big overarching lesson in terms of sexual market value is that it's very real, and we have assigned values as we go out there in the dating marketplace. Next, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper in terms of what I learned and really look at what was going on here with Kevin Samuels' channel. This guy was around 50 years old, maybe in his early 50s, and the guy peaked. The guy peaked in his early 50s. This guy was a nobody before then. I'm not sure exactly what he did for a living. I don't know much of his history, but we both know that we did not know who this person was before he had this YouTube channel, and he became extremely wealthy and extremely popular and found his calling and his passion. So what's the lesson here? That you can, at any age, find your calling, find your passion, and actually have a peak. As a man, you don't have to peak young. You can keep on innovating. You can keep on trying to become a new person, a better person. You can continue to find your passion. This happens all the time, by the way. If you know a guy named Harvey Milk, this is a guy who is a big advocate for gay men in San Francisco. No one knew who this guy was, and all of a sudden, after 40, this guy was a huge sensation. Another example of a guy who just peaked later in life. So this happens, and Kevin Samuels is a prime example of that. So don't think that once you're over 30, over 40, that it's just done for you. It's clearly not. Another lesson I learned just from hearing the women talk on his channel was that so many women are not interested in working after they have children. Is that if they could choose, they would choose to not work after having children. And that was very eye-opening and quite mind-blowing, to be honest, because I thought that all these women out there who are now becoming more modern, these are women who are actually trying to sustain a career and have a job and have a career path that lasts a long time. And I'm sure that there are women who are women that do want that, but you can see right there and then all these women, I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of women on his channel that say flat out, no, I would rather have a man be paying the bills, that women don't want to be paying significant bills after they have children. They would rather be a stay-at-home mom. They would rather have a nice lifestyle than have to be in the workplace and trying to fight for the best career. This is very confusing because this is not what we're seeing on television. This is not what we're hearing from women who maybe we're even talking to, and we're just getting this different take from what we see on the media and also what we hear on, let's say, a YouTube channel. Again, YouTube is media, but I think you get what I'm saying. We're having more honest conversations here, and it just seems to be that these women who you'd think want to further and progress, as we see women being more as feminists and coming to have more power in the workplace, actually don't want to be there. Number 5, and I think I saved the best for last because this one really affected me almost on a personal level, like just, man, crazy. And it's this, is that all these women who came on Kevin Samuels' channel have been saying that they would rather die alone than settle for a low-value man. Is that they would rather be single and be single mothers than have to be with a guy who's in the bottom 80%. This is the crazy part about it, is that all these women, they want the 0.01% of man, the men who are over 6 feet tall, who are extremely high earners, who are just high status. They want those guys, and if they don't get those guys, then they'd rather die alone. They'd rather be single, which is crazy because she can be in an amazing relationship with a great guy who maybe isn't super rich and can still provide a great life for them. So it's just really crazy, mind-blowing to hear how many women would rather just die alone, rather be single, than not have to settle, than not have to be with the top or the bottom 80% of men, which there's a lot of great guys in there, like you potentially, right? There's a lot of great guys who would be a great partner to that woman, but she just won't do it. Very sad to hear of the passing of Kevin Samuels. He was shedding light on a lot of topics and ideas that people just didn't know about and weren't thinking about. And I wish that he was still here today to be able to produce more content and teach us more. Unfortunately not, so we'll just take the lessons that he gave us from his legacy. Hope this sheds some light for you on some aspects, and I hope that this has been helpful. Press subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll talk to you in the comments.